Welcome to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on the Sunrise, and it is the final hour of the show. And I'm very, very excited to be here to keep you company on the final hour of the show because we do have a lot of fun and interesting things to be talking about today. We do have a lot of interesting conversation that takes place right here on Relax Radio. And that's why you should stay tuned to Relax Radio because we do have a lot of interesting and entertaining conversation to help you get through your day. So make sure you stay tuned because it's definitely going to help you get through your day. Okay. And something else that you can do, or something else that you can do to keep yourself company to make sure you're entertained and informed is in fact to go download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play. So that way you can join into the conversation, you can tune into the conversation and be a part of this conversation any time of the day. Okay, so make sure you do that. And also don't forget to text us on 078 to get in touch with us, to share your thoughts, your opinions, your experiences, because that will be absolutely amazing. Okay, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions about everything that I'm talking about because Relax Radio is all about you. It's about your thoughts, your opinions, your perspective, and your experiences. So make sure you share them with me because Relax Radio is all about the positives and no negatives. Okay, so don't forget to do that, and also don't forget to go follow us on our socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Make sure you follow them. And don't forget to contact me on 078 and share your thoughts with me. But right now, let's actually get into the conversation because today we're going to be talking about, or in the final hour, we're going to be talking about how two-thirds of couples actually start out as friends, and this was actually found by research. Now you've obviously heard, or you've heard so many instances where you thought people, or especially men and women, couldn't be friends before they got into relationships. And forget about men and women, okay, even in instances of other types of relationships, obviously sometimes you'd think that women and women couldn't be friends before they got into a relationship, that maybe men and men couldn't be friends before they got into a relationship. And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes, sure, you can't get into a relationship, and that's for some people only. Obviously, I definitely don't agree to that. I mean, I think people can be friends without being attracted to each other, but there are also instances when you and your friend are attracted to each other, you fall in love and you start dating, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being friends and falling in love with your friends. In fact, in my opinion, I think it's so much better if you fall in love with your friend. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, how two-thirds of couples actually start out as friends. Now, like I said, a lot of people assume that women and men, or men and men and women can't be friends because of attraction. And in some cases, sure, you can't be friends with someone because you're attracted to them and they aren't. And those that kind of situations are sometimes hard for you because it leads to a lot of heartbreak. It leads to a lot of pain and issues, right? So obviously, sometimes it doesn't work out. However, at one point, because obviously when it comes to attraction, you tend to think that at one point or another that the other person will develop an attraction, or you will develop an attraction, and therefore you will have to lose a friendship, that you will have to give up that friendship simply because of how you think that this relationship isn't going to work out, or he or she's your friend, and therefore you don't want to be involved in a sort of romantic relationship with a friend. Right now, I actually, in my opinion, I don't agree to this because I have so many guy friends who I'm not attracted to and who aren't attracted to me, and we've been friends for the longest time ever. Right, so whatever you say, whatever all you cynical people out there say, oh, men and women can't be friends, it's not going to happen. Well, you're wrong, because I have so many friends out there who are guys who I'm not attracted to, and they're not attracted to me as well. So, it's all cool, it's all good here. And in my opinion, like I said, I don't agree to that, but for some people, obviously that's different. For some people, that attraction happens. Some people think they might fall in love with their friends, that they can that they can't actually go forward in the relationship because they're going to fall in love with their friends. But again, people are different. We all have different thoughts, we all have different opinions, and that's completely fine, right? Because that's what this is all about. It's about different opinions, it's about diverse opinions. And if you have any diverse opinions that you want to share with me, that you want to talk to me about, that you want to tell me about, well, make sure you text me on 078 and share those opinions with me, because that's what we do right here on Relax Radio. Make sure you do that, because I would absolutely, absolutely love to hear whatever it is that you have to share and say to me about all of it, right? Now, getting back into the conversation, like I said, I don't agree with it, but some people do. Some people are different, and that's just how we're all wired, right? However, new research has in fact suggested that roughly two-thirds of couples actually start out as friends and they maintain a platonic relationship for long periods before sparking a romance. And that is, a very cool thing to do. And I'll tell you why. I will get into why it's probably the best idea to be friends with the person you want to date before you start dating them. And I know it sounds tiring, because how long do you have to be friends with them before how long do you have to be friends with them before you decide to fall in love with them? And if you're someone who doesn't have patience like me, who's very impatient, then you don't want to be waiting forever until you figure out your friend and you'll start dating. But in my experience, and from friends I know, people I know, situations I have been in as well, I've always found out that when relationships start with friendship, it's in fact much better. It's definitely much more understanding, and it's definitely much more interesting than relationships that just start with people you met at a party, or you meet online, or you meet at an event. Okay, I've definitely felt that, and I know some of my friends who felt that as well. So we will be talking about all of that, right? Now, like I said, new research actually suggests that two-thirds of couples start out as friends and maintain this platonic relationship before they move on to spark romance, right? And the coming together of two strangers, whether it's through sideway glances at a coffee shop or a swipe of a dating app, it's actually well chronicled in film and focus of much sociological research, right? And but when it comes to choosing your partner, when it comes to which partner is actually going to work out for you, that is actually not shown that much in movies. Because in movies it's always, oh, it's love at first sight. It's oh, like, oh, I'm in love. We're in love. We're meant to be. That's exactly how it's like, right? And how many romantic movies have you seen that the two characters meet each other at the coffee shop, they exchange glances, and then she goes home and she's thinking about him, and he goes home and he's thinking about her, and they run into each other again, magically, totally didn't see that coming. They suddenly run into each other again, and then they start talking, and then something happens. He's engaged to another woman, or he falls in love with another woman, and then they're heartbroken, and then they realize, oh, I want to be with you, you want to be with me, we should be together. And then they get together, right? We've seen that story happen so many different times. But however, even though that is the case, we haven't actually seen, we don't really know much about choosing a partner that is going to work for you. Now, this was actually said by Dana Anthony Stinson, who is an associate professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of Victoria, which is in Canada, obviously. And Stinson and her co-authors actually investigated the experience of nearly 1,900 university students, and they also crowdsourced adults, which included 677 who were in fact married or in a common law partnership, and all of whom were asked whether they were friends with their current romantic partner before they became romantically involved. And most participants, which was about 68%, reported that their current or even their most recent romantic relationship actually began as a friendship, regardless of gender, age, education levels, or even ethnic groups, right? And the rate of this friends first initiation was in fact even higher among 20 somethings and within LGBTQ plus communities, with 85% of such couples saying their romance began as a friendship. And in my opinion, there's nothing as beautiful as you starting a relationship, as you falling in love with your best friend. And I mean, how many quotes and how many posts and stories have we seen on Instagram where they say you don't fall in love with your best friend because look, there's a reason they say that, because you and your best friend are in fact much more compatible than a guy you randomly met on the internet 2 days ago, right? And you and your friend definitely have a high level of trust, have a high level of compatibility. You all share same value system, you all share same beliefs, that will actually make that relationship, make that partnership much more interesting, much more compatible for you than, with somebody else, right? And that's the truth of it. And no matter how many times you try to deny it, no matter how many times you try to say, hey, you know what, dating people that you meet on the internet is much better than, being friends with someone, because you're going to lose that friendship, because you're going to lose that person. Well, the truth of the matter is, sure, that all exists, but what exactly is life without a little risk, right? Life is all about that risk. It's about you learning things, you figuring out things, until you finally find someone who you're going to end up with, or who just seems right for you. It's about living in that moment. It's about living in the now, focusing on the now, and enjoying the moment, right? That's what life is about. And that's what life should be. Don't make it so complicated. Don't make things so complicated. Don't complicate relationships, friendships unnecessarily for you, because you're just putting stress on yourself. You're just burdening yourself, and you're not really burdening anyone else, right? So why would you do that? Because it's annoying, and it's also very, very tiring to go through all of that stress, to go through all of that, drama that is involved. I remember when or not that I remember, because I'm still in my 20s, but when you're young and you're trying to get into relationships and you'll break up, there is so much of drama involved. Like, oh my goodness, the drama is crazy. And I think, okay, so what comes to my mind when I'm talking about drama that involves relationship is definitely Olivia Rodrigo and Joshua Bassett. Okay, there is so much of drama between them, and they're writing songs about each other, they're dissing each other, they're throwing shade at each other. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you guys, you're so dramatic. Stop. It's not like, I mean, look, you could find the love of your life at the age of 16, but like, what is there to say that just because you date someone for the first time in your life that you're gonna end up with them? Come on, y'all are still kids. There's so many different there are so many different people, different experiences that you're going to have, different people you're going to meet. And that means your life is definitely going to change, right? You're going to meet new people. You might fall in love with new people. So, you just need to learn to enjoy the moment. So make sure you stay tuned, because I will be here to keep talking to you about everything related to relationships, love, relationships, friendships, drama. Make sure you stay tuned, because right now we're actually going to head into this small break.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you've got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account. And then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. so that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio. I'm very, very excited to be here because we're talking about whether you can be friends before you get into a relationship and how exactly that affects your relationship or your friendship, and how exactly it causes changes in your relationship and your friendship. Now, that's a very interesting topic because obviously a lot of us have doubts as to whether we should be friends with people before we get into relationships, whether it will ruin that friendship slash relationship, and what exactly are its effects and whatnot, right? So obviously that is a question that a lot of us have, and especially since we're getting back into normal. Slowly we're getting back into normal. We're more focused on the relationships we can make, rebuilding some of those relationships that we lost during the pandemic and all of that. So it's important to have this conversation. It's important to share my thoughts with you, and also don't forget to share your thoughts with me because I want to hear what you think of this as well. Okay, so make sure you text me on 078 to share your thoughts and experiences with me so I can share it with everyone who's listening in as well. And also, a very, very quick reminder to go follow us on Instagram, on our socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And that way, you can actually be a part of this show. You can always be informed about everything that is happening all around the world, but right here in the United Kingdom as well, only here on Relax Radio. So make sure you do that. And also don't forget to go download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, which means you can download our app on either your iOS or even your Android device. And make sure that you are always updated, that you're a part of this conversation and you're listening into this conversation from anywhere in the world. Okay. So make sure you do that. But right now, let's actually get back into our conversation. So earlier, we were talking about how a lot of these relationships that are currently there were in fact platonic at one point, and then it became a romantic relationship. So then how exactly does a platonic relationship turn romantic, and what really is this distinction between friends and lovers is a question that is still being unpicked. And this was actually said by Stinson. And what she had to say about this was that the written accounts of study participants were apparently hilariously all over the place. Okay, and she said that some people in fact described holding hands, family introductions, going on trips together, cuddling by the fire as friendship, but other people categorize those exact same behaviors as romantic. Now, in my perspective, holding hands, family introductions, going on trips together, that's what you would do with friends, right? I mean, you'd obviously do it with your significant other as well. But I understand that sometimes, you could hold your friend's hand and that wouldn't mean anything romantic. And you could introduce your friends to your family. It happens all the time because I have so many friends and I'm constantly introducing them to my family. But that doesn't mean I'm romantically, interested in them or I'm attracted to them. And going on trips together, well, that happens as well. I take trips with my girlfriends obviously all the time. But however, having said that, things like cuddling by the fire, things like things that normal people do in relationships. I don't know, like cuddling by the fire, like going on dates. Not really, again, because you can go on dates with your friends as well. But cuddling by the fire, sleeping together, and when I say sleeping together, obviously, I mean, sometimes you all take a nap together when you're sleeping over and whatnot. Those things are things that I consider as what you would do with your friends, right? But things like cuddling, things like kissing, that's what you would do with your significant other. But again, that's just my perspective. If you want to share your perspective, if you want to share what you think is the distinction between romance and friendship, make sure you text me. Make sure you call me on 07852 473 and share your thoughts and experiences with me as well. Okay, so what she said, or just realized that could have been a good joke, what she said, but what Stinson said was that there is a huge, messy, blurry line between friendship and romance. And we've seen that as well, right? There is, in fact, this huge, blurry, and messy line between friendship and romance. And it emphasizes how you really cannot define for somebody else what a friendship is versus what a romance is. It's different for everyone out there, right? We define it for ourselves. These people define it for themselves, and we can't really go on with generalizations, and we can't tell them what exactly is a friendship and um what exactly is a relationship, what exactly is a romantic relationship, because these things are different for all the people all over the world. It's very, very different for everyone, and obviously that is what it is now, right? Now, in the study, there were roughly about 300 university students who were also asked how long their friends phase lasted, and why, and whether they prefer to be friends before taking things in a romantic direction. And on average, the Friends First initiators were friends for actually nearly 22 months before the relationship turned romantic. And almost half of the total sample actually thought that Friends First initiation was, in fact, the best way to start a new romantic relationship versus the other options presented, such as meeting at a party or online. And the researchers actually wrote this in the journal Social Psychological and Personality Science. Okay, so essentially, to put it quite simply, a lot of these people who were friends before they started dating actually said that they were friends for nearly 22 months before they got into a relationship. And what I understand and what I want to, portray or tell you as well is the fact that when you're friends with someone for such a long time, especially 22 months, that's about 2 years, right? Um, when you're friends with someone for as much time as that, and you actually spend time with them, you get to know these things about them, right? You definitely bond better. You're much, much more compatible than someone you would just meet at a party and then start dating, or someone you met online and you started dating. You're all much, much more comfortable, compatible, right? But also, the fact of the matter is, you're much more comfortable with that person, because in this day and age, it's so hard to trust people, right? Am I wrong? I'm not, because I have so many trust issues, and I know I'm not the only one with trust issues, right? So many of us have trust issues because of the way the world is. It's so hard to find someone who would be faithful to you. It's so hard to find someone who wouldn't cheat on you, someone who would actually care, and who would respect and pay attention to you. It's hard to find people like that. And like I said sometime back, that's actually because of the experiences that we have gone through. Some of us saw our parents cheating on each other. Some of us were in relationships where we got cheated on, or some of us cheated on our significant others in those relationships. And obviously, when you get cheated on and whatnot, it's very hard for you to trust people again, because when someone cheats on you, you feel like you're not enough. You feel like you're unworthy, or you don't have any value, because this person betrayed you, went behind your back, and cheated on you, right? So there is a lot of self-worth issues that are a part of relationships where you have been cheated on. And the truth of the matter is, because we live in a society like that, in my opinion, I think it's always better for you to be friends with the person before you actually start dating them. Because like I said, it's important for you to know what kind of people they are. I mean, look, we've seen so many memes that say, I wish people had a 30-second trailer before I got to know them, and instances like that. Well, guess what? This is your 30-second trailer, except it's not really 30 seconds, it's in fact 22 months, okay? So if you want to get into a relationship, my advice to you is essentially to be friends with that person first, okay? Because you will get to know things about this person, you will understand this person better, and slowly as time passes, you can make sure that that attraction is as organic as possible, right? And I'm saying this because sometimes we force ourselves to like other people to get over a breakup, to get over some terrible situation in our life. We force ourselves to like other people, right? And that's what we do. And the truth is, sometimes because we force ourselves to like people, it's not very organic. That relationship feels very, very forced. And if that's the case, well, you know that relationship isn't always going to work out. That relationship isn't always going to be healthy, because that relationship is a forced relationship. It was not an organic relationship. Whereas when you're in a friendship, you have so much more and you have so much more compatibility, you have so much more trust, and you know that you'll share the same value systems, and the other thing is, when we're looking for a partner, there are certain things that we want, right? For example, when it comes to me, if I'm looking for a partner, what I would look for in a partner is someone who's caring, someone who listens to me and respects me, and someone who doesn't try to boss me around and try to dictate what I'm going to do with my life, because I absolutely hate other people telling me what to do, because I'm a very independent person, right? And I hate when other people try to tell me what I should do with my life. But thank you for the advice, but I don't want it. That's how I feel. So obviously, when I'm in a relationship, I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone who gets very possessive, who's very controlling, because that's just not my kind of person, right? And the thing is, when you're friendly before you start dating, you know what kind of person they are, so you know that they're not going to get controlling, or you know that they're not going to make you do whatever they want you to do with your life, and they will let you make your own choices, right? And that's very, very important. Now something else that happens a lot is you get a whole lot of people complaining about being friend zoned, right? Which is based on this idea that relationships between men and women are somehow by default sexual. Okay. And this was actually said by Stinson, because she said that a lot of us assume that all these relationships, especially between men and women, have to inherently be sexual, which is not really the case. It doesn't have to be sexual. It can be a non-sexual, a friendly, relationship, a platonic relationship as well. But when we actually ask people, they say that they have friendships with people of all genders, that they could potentially theoretically be attracted to one day. Sometimes we act on those attractions and sometimes we don't, right? And the truth of the matter is, attraction is not something you can control, right? I mean, like I said, if unless you're forcing yourself to like someone, to be in a relationship, to get over something terrible that happened to you, or to make someone jealous, unless it's a situation like that, you can't force yourself to be attracted to a person, right? And the truth of the matter is, sometimes when you hang out with a person so much, when you spend so much time with them, you can start getting attracted to them. And that only makes sense because if you have similar ideologies, if you have similar, belief systems, value systems, then chances are you're definitely going to be attracted to them. But this actually depends on whether you act on these attractions or whether you don't act on these attractions, right? Because ultimately, what's going to create that relationship is if you act on your attractions. If you don't act on your attractions and you keep it to yourself, well, that's all right as well. Ultimately, it's your life, it's your decision, so you get to pick what you want to do with your life, right? So that's what that is. But make sure you stay tuned, because I have a little bit more left to talk to you about friendships, relationships, platonic relationships and whatnot. So make sure you stay tuned, because right now we're actually going to head into a small break, and then after that we will be back to talk to you about everything that we were just talking about.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education, or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account. And then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Welcome back to the show. It's a girl, Sarah, right here on Relax Radio. Now you're tuned into the final few minutes of the sunrise. And I'm super excited to be here because we're talking about something very important, or something that a lot of us have questions about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're not too sure what I'm talking about, well, what I'm talking about right now is how a lot of us assume that if we meet someone of the opposite gender, that we can't possibly be friends with them. And it's mostly in situations like this. It's mostly in cisgender relationships, or even heterosexual relationships, where people assume that if you meet someone from the opposite gender, then that means that you can't be friends because you're not going to fall in love. And I don't understand what's so wrong about that. Okay, you can be in love with your best friend. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's much better for you to be in love with your best friend than to be in love with some random man you met on the internet, or some random woman you met on the internet and you don't even know anything about, right? Especially because also and can be very dangerous as well. So the smartest thing to do obviously would be to fall in love with someone you know, right? Fall in love with someone you have some sort of connection with. So that's what we're talking about. Now you're tuned into the sunrise with me, Sarah, and we're having a very interesting and entertaining conversation, okay? And also, if you want to share your thoughts, your opinions with me, make sure you text me on 078 or make sure you and follow us on our socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And that way you can be a part of this show. You can share your thoughts, your experiences, everything that you want to share with us, you can do that. So make sure you do that. that. And also, don't forget to download the app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. That means you can listen in from anywhere in the world with any device, okay? All you need to do is just download the app and you can listen in anytime and at from anywhere in the world. So make sure you do that, right? But let's actually get into this conversation that we were having a while back. How exactly are friends attracted to each other, and how do you make this transition from a platonic relationship to a romantic relationship? Now, let's talk about why friends are attracted to each other and why it's important, or why it could be beneficial, rather, to be attracted to your friends. Now, friends to begin with, like, your friendship to begin with, you're attracted to your friend. I mean, not like a romantic attraction, but you like or you enjoy hanging out with your friend because y'all share the same values in life, right? And this makes enduring harmony in a relationship over time. Okay, so because you know that y'all share the same values, or because you know y'all share the same thoughts in life, it can actually help y'all have harmony if you'll ever get into a relationship. Because as soon as you start dating, there's a lot of fighting, right? And that's because you're still getting used to the other person. There are certain things you're finding out about the person, and it takes a while to get used to, right? Now, what happens with romantic love is it actually often binds us to the other, blinds us rather, to the other person's character flaws or to our differences, because you want to make it work, right? You want to make it work in a romantic relationship. So obviously, like everyone else here who we are all guilty of, and this is something we're all guilty of, rather, we always tend to ignore these red flags, or we tend to ignore these flaws or these indifferences that we have in our relationship, to make it work, to make it look like we can actually get through it, when in reality sometimes it doesn't work. um, but what happens when it comes to friendship is that friendship actually allows us to know the real person without that person working so hard to manage impressions. Okay. And the truth of the matter is, we get to know who they really are. We get to know that we share the same value systems, that we know who they truly are. We know what kind of people they are. And we know that they're someone we can trust. We know that, we can depend on them to make sure that we feel better about our relationship, and our relationship is much much stronger as well. So like I said, friendship allows you to get to know that real person without the other person working so hard to manage these impressions. And this is something a lot of us do in relationships, right? We try to be someone completely different so our significant other will love us. But if your friendship starts, or rather if your relationship starts with a friendship, you wouldn't have to do that, because that person would already know who you truly are. And after a while it gets tiring, rather, managing all these different impressions, trying to be this person that you trying to be this person that you want to be for someone else, and not really your true self. That does get tiring after a while, and that's just how it is, right? And the truth of the matter is, we're much more likely to be basing our interest on a range of that person's behavior, including good and bad mood days, not just from what they want us to see over a short period of dating, right? When you're friends with someone, you will definitely, see them on the bad days, see them on the good days, you will see them at their best and their worst, and you will know how to handle them. You will know how to comfort them and make sure they're okay on their worst days, and make sure they're happier on their good days as well. Whereas when you're dating, you don't really know what you don't really know what their bad days are like, and you don't know how they can get like when they're not okay, right? Whereas when you're dating your friend, there are so many things you get to know about them as well. So when you start from that friendship base, it actually says something about the other person's genuine interest in you as a person and their commitment to your relationship. Okay, because when you're friends, when you're friendly with someone, when you have a friend, you try and do everything to make sure that they're okay, especially if they're going through some tough situation, if they're going through some tough time. What you would do essentially is try and make sure as much as possible that they're okay. You genuinely care about them. Whereas I'm not saying that that isn't the case in relationships, but sometimes it's much much different when you directly get into a relationship without any friendship, right? and it's difficult, it's hard as well. So because sometimes when your significant other does things for you without y'all having a friendship before y'all started dating, you start questioning whether this person genuinely cares about you, because they could be busy with something, either work or something else, and then you'd start thinking, oh, you know what, do they actually care about me, because they're not putting in any commitment or any effort, which is very different when you consider it in terms of dating your best friend, or falling in love with your best friend. So like I said, when a friend sticks by you through a difficult situation, for example, it gives you a good indication of the person's ability to manage the relationship's ups and downs in the future. Okay. And something that, we all talk about is the love drug. So, whilst the love drug of oxytocin is flowing from excitement of the relationship progressing to a more intimate level, a solid and respectful friendship actually assists in calming the amygdala, which is also called the emotion center in the brain, which helps us to think more clearly, rationally, and collaborate on wise decisions for a lasting relationship. So, if you want to have a much more lasting relationship, if you want to make wise and rational decisions, which is something I'm really bad at, and I'm not proud of it, but it's just who I am. We all make terrible decisions, me more than others, but you just gotta live with it and learn how to get on with life, because life is all about taking that risk. Life is all about taking those or making those terrible decisions and then learning to live with your mistakes, right? So, whereas in these friendships, in these relationships, the love drug of oxytocin obviously flows because you're excited about how your friendship is getting is make is becoming a relationship, but also because that solid friendship that you had with that person before you started dating, before you started you know before you started having that relationship, before you started dating, that the friendship that you had, that in fact helps you in calming your amygdala, which is the emotion center, because look, you're going to have some sense of comfort and some sense of solace, and also some sense of not you wouldn't be anxious about your future as much as you would, especially if you started dating someone that you barely knew, right? Because with your friend, hey, you might not end up with your friend, but you might actually have a fair idea of how long it would work out for. And that is something that helps as well. So, if you're edging into a more intimate relationship, you've probably decided over time that they're very trustworthy, dependable, and of good character, right? I mean, that's why you hang out with a person. That's why you're friends with a person, because they're trustworthy, they're dependable, they're reliable, and they have a very good character, right? Which is why you continue being friends with them. And if that's the case, and if you are going to make sure that you can I'm going to make sure that you are going to continue the friendship, going to continue the relationship. It's good for you because you understand that you have this bond with that person. You have this sort of connection to that person, and this person is going to actually respect you and take care of you and make sure that you feel worthy, right? Because something that we all look for in relationships, which is something we shouldn't be looking for actually, is the sense of worth. Sometimes we look for our sense of worth in relationships, and look, I understand why that happens. Sometimes we find it so hard to validate ourselves. We find it so hard to tell ourselves that, look, you know what? Like, I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of being treated nicely. I'm worthy of being valued, and I'm worthy of being respected. A lot of us have that, but the truth is, a person that you've known for a longer period in your life, a person that you can trust and you can trust, is definitely going to give you that sense of worth much more than a person that you just met, like at a party or something, you know and especially because a lot of us struggle with our sense of worth, with our sense of validation, and with our sense of trying to be okay and trying to make sure everything is okay. It's important that when we get into a relationship, that we get into a relationship with someone who knows how to handle us when we're going through something bad, who knows how to make us feel better when we're going through something terrible, and who knows how to make us much much happier when we are having our good days, right? That's something that's very very important. And I know it's something that's very underrated. People don't really talk about how important it is to know how to not handle people, but how important it is to know how you can get along with people, how you can interact with people and make them feel better, especially if they're going through something terrible, right? We not a lot of people, talk about it because it's very underrated. People just tend to think, oh, you know what, getting into a relationship is very easy. It's all about, falling in love, doing, cute couple things and whatnot. But in reality, it's so much more than that, right? Relationships take a lot of effort. It takes a lot of hard work. It's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of dedication, and it's a lot of work. Okay, and it's easy for you to get into a relationship if you're not looking for something that lasts. If it's something like a rebound or a fling, well then, you can get into a relationship like that, a rebound or a fling, with someone you met at a party or online, someone you barely know, because you don't want it to last, and that's the whole point of it, right? But if you're someone who's looking for a relationship that will last much longer, for a relationship that will give you a sense of comfort, and also will not make you so doubtful about your future, some a relationship that you can you know relationship that you can develop and improve, then it's almost always best to fall in love with your best friend. Okay, because friendships actually give the advantage of time and space to grow and flourish together before you take that risk of vulnerability and you hand over your heart, right? Because look, it's very scary these days to just fall in love, to just open up about your feelings, your emotions to your significant other, right? It's scary because you don't know what they would possibly do with all that information. So it's very, very important for you to definitely think twice. It's very important for you to and get to know your partner before you start dating them. And obviously, since we're talking about positive positive things, there's also a few negative things. And the first thing that I can think of is, in fact, that if your relationship doesn't work out, you could probably lose your friend, right? And my advice to that is, look, yeah, sure, that might happen. It might be very hurtful, it might be very, very painful, but the truth is, we all grow and evolve as human beings because of these instances. It's because of situations like this that we actually evolve and we become much better humans, and we grow, we become better people because of situations like that. And if you lose your friend, or you lose a relationship and you lose your friend along with it, well, I'm sorry that those things are terrible, but sometimes they happen. But what's important is that life is all about the risks. Life is about taking those risks. Life is about making sure you make the changes that you need to make, and you grow and evolve as a person, right? Because even for a flower or even for a plant to grow, you need to water it, you need to change its position, you need to change the way the sunlight gets to it, and that's all just to make sure that the plant grows very well. So that is what it is for today. Now make sure you stay tuned, because next we have Jamie on the chat trap, and she will be keeping you company with a lot of other interesting things. So make sure you stay tuned. But until then, I hope you have a very, very good